star 1 on your telephone keypad. Question. Please press star 1 on your telephone keypad now. All right, and our first question is coming from Flat Top Fight News.
Good day, Chad. This is Flat Top. I have to tell you that Thomas Adamek fight, I think that was one of your best fights ever. Even though you got knocked down, you came back stronger. You became focused, and you kept that fight, and you controlled the pace. Hopkins has a habit, of course, of bullying fighters. He comes in there and he gets into your head mentally. You know, he'll punch, clinch, make cute little moves. How are you going to stay, and you've seen that in the first fight, how are you going to stay focused on this fight? How are you going to control the fight from the beginning to the end?
Just being me, you know. I think the last fight, I didn't get a lot of credit for being the aggressor and then being the one that tried to press the fight. You know, Bernard backed up the first 2 rounds, even though it was only 2 rounds. But I was the aggressor. I was pressing the fight. I tried to give Bernard the fight, but he didn't show any signs that he wanted to fight until, you know, the fight was over. So, I mean, I plan on going out there using my jab, using all my hand speed, you know, my youth, and winning the fight.
And kind of a follow-up to that, too, you know, Bernard still at the same time is remarkable, being 47 years old and doing what he does and coming there with a young man of yourself who's 29. What kind of kudos do you give Bernard Hopkins for being in the game at this stage and what he's been able to accomplish, you know, against world-class opponents?
I mean, like I tell everybody else, I admire everything he's done in the sport of boxing over the last few years, you know, becoming the oldest world champion. You know, those are things you can't take away from Bernard Hopkins. You can't take that away from, you know, it's just that, you know, the only thing I have to do is go out there, you know, and dethrone him. You know, I want to become the world champion. I want the same, you know, recognition that Bernard gets. On the 28th, you know, that's what I'm going out to get.
Thank you, Chad. And Gary, got a quick question for you. I know you were dissatisfied when they ruled that the WBC ordered the rematch, and the money back then, Bernard Hopkins got paid $1 million. Chad's purse was $800,000. How's the money different this time?
Well, look, I thank the WBC for. I worked hard to get Chad this mandatory rematch. There's not a chance that Hopkins would have gotten in the ring with him. We had to take short money because that was the ruling by the WBC. But Chad knows that we may take short money this time, but this is the last fight. This is the end of Hopkins. Look, Hopkins won't even do a press conference with Chad. He wouldn't do a one-on-one with Max Kellerman and Chad. He won't do a real press conference with Chad. That tells you all that you have to know about this fight.
Excellent. And Richard, one question for you, sir, too. As we were saying, you know, Bernard is an exceptional athlete, you know, fighting at 47. Do you have plans for him past this fight, win or lose?
Well, you know, this is something which I'm going to be sitting down with Bernard after the fight and see how he feels, and then we're going to go from there. I mean, you know, for big fights, you really don't make any plans. I don't think, you know, you just then you deal with it.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, our next question is coming from Dan Raphael from ESPN.
Hello, everybody. Chad, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm good. Thank you very much. My question for you, Chad, is, you know, that first fight, I know it only lasted not even 2 full rounds, but in those 2 rounds, it seemed like you were beginning to establish some control of the fight. Do you think that when this fight starts that your mentality will be to sort of try to pick up exactly where you left off, sort of taking it to him and fighting with a little bit of kind of a chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, I mean, the way the last fight ended, you know, on my behalf, the way the fight ended, you know, I could only take it as, you know, a confidence builder, you know, because I really don't believe Bernard Hopkins was hurt. And I mean, he showed that he really didn't want to be in the ring with me that night. So, you know, it's a confidence booster for me. And I want to go in there on the 28th, and I want to pick up right where we left off. You know, be the aggressor. You know, I want to make him fight. and hopefully we can get a fan what they came to see the last time, a real fight.
So if he was not, if Gary's made it very clear he doesn't believe that Bernard was injured. You've stated that multiple times today at the press conference, many times. If that's the case, why do you suppose that Bernard, with his age, his stature, all the money that he's made, his name, he could have maybe looked elsewhere. If he really wasn't hurt, why do you suppose then he took this rematch with you when, even though it was mandatory because of the belt, he really didn't have to do that if he didn't want to, being where he is in the sport?
I mean, I guess it's all about his legacy. I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't want to go out on a bad note like that. I wouldn't want to have anybody saying that you're ducking this guy. So, I mean, I'm not going to say he's scared. I don't believe no fighter's scared. I don't think if any man gets in the ring with another man, they're not a scared person. But I mean, if you look at the last fight, I mean, he said he dislocated his shoulder, but we didn't see no lesion in his shoulder. We didn't see any doctors, anything like that. So, I mean, like I said, my confidence is through the roof right now, and I'm looking forward to going out there on 28th, looking forward to becoming a world champion once again.
Do you think, Dan, let me just help you out with that. Okay. They didn't want the fight. They lobbied against the fight, but I won on the floor of the WBC convention. That's why Hopkins is taking it, because without the belt, Hopkins is just an old fighter. So he needs that belt to be someone. To lose it on April 28th.
Let me inject here as well. I mean,
I was just going to ask you, Rich,
this is ridiculous. Look, I was recently at Bernard's house. Bernard has more belts than other people have to hold up their pants. And so the fact is that Bernard, at this point, 48 years old, he doesn't need no belts, He could have gone and fight Shumanov for the WBA belt. He could have gone and fight Cleverly, a huge showdown in the UK with huge crowds. I mean, were so many other options, but this is what Bernard Hopkins is. I mean, this is exactly shows again the kind of fighter Bernard Hopkins is. Never turns down a challenge, and everybody felt that he was gonna not fight him again. And guess what? He always does the unexpected. He even surprises Gary Shaw and Chad Dawson, and if Gary thinks that the result of Bernard taking the fight is because of some silly ruling from the WBC, he is mistaken, and he knows that.
No, Richard, I love you, but that's not true. We chased Hopkins for 3 years, and we only got him in because of what happened with the Pascal fight, and you know that.
Well, because he was in bigger fights where he made more money. That's why. Okay. And then he got it. And Bernard Hopkins could have gotten a TV date whether he fights Chad Dawson or not. You know that, and everybody on the line knows that. So there was no need for that. But it doesn't really matter. The fact is just because the WBC rules something, that doesn't mean everybody has to follow. But Bernard wanted the fight and took the fight. He was not obligated, was not forced into it.
I have one more question for Chad. Thank you, John. Chad?
Yeah.
Bernard's age has been a big topic here. He's 47. I think it was pretty clear that you were doing very well in the first couple of rounds before the aborted ending of the fight. Is the biggest statement that you can make in this fight to knock out Bernard Hopkins and end his career?
I mean, that would be a big statement to make. I mean, due to the fact that he's never been knocked out before, I can't say that I'm going in there looking for the knockout. I'm just looking for, I had a great training camp. We've been in training camp 7 weeks already. Everything's been great. We've worked on a lot of different things. We know Bernard is not going to come in the same fight that he was the last fight. We know he's a little stronger than he was the last fight. Like I said, I'm just looking forward to going out there and becoming a world champion again. I hope Bernard comes to fight. Like Richard said, he took the fight. He wanted to fight. So hopefully we'll be fighting on the 28th, and we'll get our fans their money's worth.
All right, very good. Hey, by the way, you're still with Scully for this fight, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Chad. Appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is coming from Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City.
Hi, Chad. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Good. The fact that Bernard's from Philadelphia has fought at Boardwalk Hall or in Atlantic City for, 16 or 17 times. Is there any concern on your part or on your camp's part that there's some sort of hometown advantage that he might enjoy?
No concern at all. No concern.
No, his his promoter was on the board of New Jersey for a lot of years.
Yep, I know that.
Okay, so that should answer it.
Are you trying? What do you mean? Hey, what do you mean by that, Gary? Could you elaborate?
Sure. I mean that nobody has an advantage. Bernard's from Philly, and I had a relationship with the state of New Jersey, so we're all even.
Okay. I just meant as far as, like, I would imagine that Bernard's going to have fan support, and whether you think that might sway the judges, referee, unintentionally, of course, but could it be a factor? Chad or Barry?
I'm not worried about that at all. I'm not worried. We're not worried about that at all. We never even brought that up. That's never been the topic of discussion with us. We're just looking forward to going out there on the 28th and becoming a world champion once again. I'm confident in my abilities. I know what's going to happen on the 28th. If Bernard comes to fight, then the fans will get a great fight.
And on a similar note, being from Connecticut, relatively close, why is it that you've never fought in Atlantic City? Just didn't work out that way?
I guess it just never worked out. I don't know what it is, but I got the opportunity now, and I know a lot of my fans and family get to come and sit and watch me live.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is from Chris Murray from the Philadelphia Tribune.
Yeah, hello? Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not questioning for you, Chad, and I also have a question for Richard Schaefer as well. But Chad, Bernard Hopkins seems to have a way against, younger fighters. We saw you have with, he beat Antonio Tarver and all those guys. How do you plan to counteract him, and what types of problems does he present to say, younger guys as yourself?
I don't know, because I can't compare myself to other young guys. I think I'm totally different from all the other young guys he's beaten. I have more will, I'm definitely smarter. I know Bernard's been around the game for a long time. I know he knows all the tricks, all the tactics and everything. But I'm not worried about that, Like I keep saying, if Bernard comes to fight on the 28th, then fans will get a great fight, and I'll be the one who comes out on top.
Yeah, and my other question is for Richard. How do you explain Bernard Hopkins' popularity? Is it a question? Is it a matter of that there are no other younger fighters in the game with the kind of drawing power, star power that he has, or is it just that Bernard Hopkins is still that fascination in boxing that we have today?
Well, I think if you look at the kind of fights and fighters Bernard fought, and won, like De La Hoya, Trinidad, Tarver, Vinky Wright, Kelly Pavlik, Roy Jones, and the list goes on and on. I mean, pretty much any and every big name, which was in or around his weight class over the past 20 years, he has fought and he has won against. So I think that, sort of like is what built the status he has, which is a legendary status. And the fact that he did make history to beat George Foreman's record to become the oldest champion ever. I think, you add all of these things together and people are taking notice that this is something very special, a very special athlete, which we are seeing here, and I think that is what makes Bernard Hopkins so popular.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is Len Satterfield from TheRing.com.
Hey, Chad, how you doing? Gary?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, coming into your fight, Bernard had an incredible, talking to Chad now, he had an incredible record against Southpaws. It was 10-1 with 5 knockouts and 1 no contest. But the one guy who beat him, controversially, and Hopkins still thinks that he won the fight, was Joe Calzaghe. And I interviewed him before the fight, and I asked him, do you believe that Hopkins is going to win? And he said, my heart says Hopkins will win on points, but my head said Chad Dawson will beat him on points, or maybe even late round stoppage. My heart wants Bernard to win on points, but my head says Dawson will beat him. What do you think he saw that many other people didn't see, thinking that you were going to beat him perhaps even worse than, what happened with him?
Man, me and Joe Kawasaki was a great fighter, you know, but me and Joe Kawasaki are two different fighters. Both southpaws. Joe Kawasaki, you know, he uses his hand speed, but I use my hand speed too, but my punches mean something. My punches count. My punches hurt. You know, Joe Kawasaki was more of a slapper with his punches. There wasn't that much power on his punches, but he threw a lot of punches. So, I mean, I have every advantage. I got the fire in my eyes, and people seen at the last fight. You know, I really wanted to go out, and I really wanted to beat Bernard Hopkins. You know, but Bernard had other plans, and I'm gonna keep saying this. Bernard did not want to be in the ring with me that night. Maybe he undertrained, and he didn't expect what he was going to see that night. Maybe he undertrained. Maybe he needed more time to get in better shape. I don't know, but I'm here, and I'm for real, and I'm coming to fight.
And you said that before, that even before the fight, then I'm sure now maybe some more than others believe it. But going into the fight, you were saying a lot of the things you're saying now, that he was ducking you and that kind of thing. Do you think that, regardless of what the result was the last time, do you think now that you're getting more credit for being the fighter that you thought you were going into that fight?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't really listen to things like that. I just know what I can do, and I know what happened that night. You know, and I looked into Bernard's eyes that night, and Bernard did not want to be in the ring that night. He may tell you otherwise, and Richard Schaefer may say otherwise, but I'm telling you, Bernard didn't want to be in the ring that night. Like I said, maybe he undertrained and he underestimated me, and maybe he needed a little more time to get in a little better shape. And maybe that's what he did by taking the rematch, and he wants to get in better shape than he came into that fight, but he didn't have that. Thank you.
All right, and our last question is from Chip Mitchell from ESPN Radio.
Hello, Chad. Chip Mitchell, FightJournal.com. Let me switch to training. Was the decision to reunite with John Scully because there was a style that you liked earlier in your career and you wanted to get back to that particular style of fighting?
Yes, that was mainly the reason I switched. I wanted to become myself again. You know, me being with so many different trainers, I think that kind of derailed my own style and going over these different ways. And one trainer wanted me to work on this, and another trainer wants to think I'm better at this, so I should be working on this. With Scully, it's different because Scully, he knows all my strengths, so we add to that, and he knows pretty much. I know Scully since I was 12 years old. You know, I sparred with him when I was coming up earlier in my career. You know, so Scully knows me. He knows everything about me. We've been in the ring together, so he knows my strengths and he knows my weaknesses. So we had the chance to work on all those things, you know. Not more so work on all my strengths because we know what they are, but to work on my weaknesses. And I think on the 28th, everybody will see a total package. And it was a great thing that, you know, not a great thing, but the fight didn't go past the second round, so I really didn't break a sweat. So we got to get back in. We got a chance to get back into camp, you know, and go back to work. So we got right back to work, and I'm gonna be in even greater shape this fight right here.
Okay, and then speaking of the abbreviated version of the fight, it didn't last long, but were there any things that you picked up during the fight that you can use for the rematch, or was this a situation that you feel Bernard kind of did everything that you thought he would?
No, I think he did everything we thought he would. You know, he started headbutting early. He started all those dirty tactics. You know, he kept jumping on my back. So I mean, everything he did that night we expected. Even when he hit the canvas, you know, we knew he wasn't getting back up. We knew he was going to fake it till he made it. So, and that's what happened.
Okay, one more. Both of your responses kind of segue into my questions. There was a point where Bernard's been called some of his tactics have come into question in the past, and you kind of put your forearm, I guess, into his neck. And I guess what my question is, was that forearm a response to something he did, or was it just your way of sending a message that you can change tactics and fight any way that you need to?
Actually, you're the first person that pointed that out, but that was a little bit of both. You know, I wanted to let them know that, you know, I wasn't going to put over the tactics all night, and I was letting them know, look, I'm strong. I'm too strong for you. So, and I think he felt that.
Okay. I'll cut mine off at those three. Thank you, Chad.
Okay.
All right, and our next question is from Bruce Pope from the BBC.
Hello there, guys. How are you doing from England? Chad, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good, now, I just, we've been talking a lot over here about Nathan Cleverly. There's obviously the potential of a unification fight if you or Bernard, the winner of this fight, takes on Nathan. Frank Warren, the promoter in the UK, has promised that. Is that something that the Nathan Cleverly is on your radar?
I'm just only person on my radar right now is Bernard Hopkins.
No, I know you don't want to look too far ahead of yourself, I suppose, but is he a big enough name now in this division to be mentioned alongside yourself and Bernard and Tavoris, Klaus Shumanov and people like that?
Honestly, I've never seen him fight. I mean, I've heard his name a few times, but I've never seen him fight, so I don't know much about him. But like I said, my whole focus is on Bernard Hopkins. Whatever me and Gary Shaw come to after this fight is what we come to. This, you know what I mean? It's whatever we have to do, but right now, just Bernard Hopkins.
All right, and our last question is from Eddie Goldman from No Holds Barred.
Thank you very much. Hey, Chad, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Let me just ask you, you've addressed this a little bit, but you know, often in fights, fighters start off, the first couple rounds are sort of a feeling out round. You've had that almost 2 rounds already. Are you going to be able to sort of dispense with that, learning what you've already learned from the first fight, as short as it was?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even the first round is going to be the 3rd round, you know, because I think Bernard got to fill me out a little bit. I got to fill him out a little bit. So, I mean, I think this right here makes for a great fight, you know, because we've been there. You know, it's only 2 rounds. We've both been in there with each other, and we know what to expect.
If you look at even the fights that he's officially lost, except for the first fight he had with Roy Jones, and in his first fight, he hasn't really. The fights that he's lost by decision have been kind of controversial. Do you want to sort of put an exclamation point on your performance and win in a very clear-cut fashion for your legacy?
Yes, sir, that's the goal. That's my plan. You know, I want to go out there. I want to beat him. If it goes 12 rounds, I want to win 11 or 12 of those rounds. So, I mean, I'm looking to go out and I'm looking to, you know, beat Bernard in a great fashion that no one can say, oh, but this, but that. It was a close fight. I don't even want a close fight. You know, I want to beat him decisively.
All right, thanks. Good luck in the fight.
Thank you.
Okay, great. That was the last question for Chad and Gary. If you guys have any final comments, and then we will get Bernard Hopkins on the line and start the second part of this call.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, Richard, for another great co-promotion. Promise you, Chad Dawson will walk out of that ring victorious. He will have the ring belt. He will have the WBC belt. And I wish Bernard Hopkins a lot of good luck on his entry into the Hall of Fame.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for joining us. And now we will stand by. We're waiting for Bernard Hopkins. He was on the line, and I believe the line dropped, but he should be back momentarily. And then we will get started, and then I'll turn it back over to Richard. I'll turn it back over to Richard to make the introductions for Hopkins. So please stand by, and operator, if you can redo the queue so people can ask questions of Bernard, that'd be great too. Thanks. Bye. 1 second. Richard, are you there? Okay. Okay, Bernard?
Yes. Yep.
Hi, Bernard. How are you?
All right.
Okay, stand by. Richard, are you there? Richard Shapaw. 1 second, Bernard. Coordinating this whole thing. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And then just stand by for Richard, okay?
Hey, Bernard.
Hey, Richard.
How are you? Everything good?
Yep, everything's great.
Excellent.
Okay, we can start. Richard, you'd like to make the introduction?
Sure,
We'll turn it over to Bernard for comments and then open it up for questions.
Okay, great. It's a pleasure again to be on here, and I have to say it was quite funny to listen to those silly comments from Gary Shaw about Bernard having to take this fight. Bernard, at this point in his career, doesn't have to do anything, and he's certainly not going to be driven by a mandatory or a mandated defense of his title against Chad Dawson. I'm looking here, and it's funny as well because it sort of like reminds me about what's the whole thing that's going on here about October 18th, 2008. And that was an interesting day. It was an interesting night. All of you guys from the media didn't really give Bernard any chance. And yes, that was his fight against Kelly Pavlik. And yes, it was in the same venue. And I sort of like compare stories, and I look at all of that, and I see a lot of similarities. And again, after everything Bernard has achieved in his career, I mentioned it before, wins against pretty much anyone who was anyone in the last 20 years in or around his weight classes, from De La Hoya to Trinidad to Tarver to Vinky to Pavlik to Jones and on and on and on. People are still doubting him. And it's amazing, that I guess some people never learn. And I'm just telling you guys, you bet at your own risk against legendary Bernard Hopkins. And for me to yet again be able to introduce this legend in another significant fight, it's just really an honor. And it really is an honor for me, Bernard, to introduce you on this call. Bernard, the executioner Hopkins, with a record of 52, 5-2, 32 KOs from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Please, Bernard Hopkins.
Thank you, Richard. I'm here to answer questions.
Okay, great. Operator, if we can go ahead and make the call to get the questions in queue, and away we'll go.
All right, if you would like to ask your question, please press 1 on your keypad. Your hand is raised. Please ask your question when prompted. Press the pound sign to lower your hand. Keypad now. All right, our first question is coming from Flat Top from Fight News.
Good day, Bernard. This is Flat Top. Talking to Dawson earlier, he said that he would use the youth and physical strength and kind of take control of the fight at base, and that he really didn't get much from the first fight, of course, because it was ended in 2 rounds. And I was wondering, are you going to approach this fight a little bit differently? Because you do have you're able to get into a fighter's mind. You're able to kind of bully them around. You do clinch, punch, make few moves at the fight. But with Dawson, being who he is with his quickness, we didn't really see a lot of it on display in the first fight. How are you going to approach this fight? Are you going to approach it any differently from the first encounter?
I'm going to approach it the way I've been trained to approach it and the way I've been working and camping my strategy. But all that he said is probably what he's going to do, but let's see if it works. I mean, if he said he's going to do what he's going to do, then I think the best thing
witnesses come April 28th. So I'm not gonna get into a dog and cat fight, and I ain't the cat, and I'm not gonna go back and forth and say he's gonna do this and he's gonna do that. At the end of the day, I really don't have too much to say, but this is protocol. You have to do things to bring people interest. So I understand that. But right now, it ain't too much for me to say. The only thing I want to do is this show. And, whoever can make it, whoever don't. But, be on TV.
Richard Schaefer did point out that you didn't have to take this fight, although Gary Shaw said, pointed out it was mandated by the WBC. Why did you take this fight? Because, you don't have to take any fight you don't want to take. You had other fights out there on the horizon. Why did you take this fight, this rematch?
Because I'm a legend.
And is this the type of fight here? Of course, you win, your legend gets even bigger. What do you look ahead of accomplishing if you get this fight? Do you want to unify the title? Do you want to move up? We talked about moving to heavyweight. What is there ahead of you if you win this fight?
Right now, I want to beat Chad Dawson. Okay, right now I want to beat Chad Dawson in one of the greatest places that I've started my career on the mat, and that's Atlantic City. Who knows what the future hold after I beat Chad Dawson? Because if you remember, when I beat Kelly Pavlik, they blackballed and sat me down for 16 months after a hell of a performance that most of y'all had me losing, not only by decision, but by a knockout. So it ain't up to me whether where I go when I win. Just watch what the establishment might do, because there's another person that will wind up on a list of so many young fighters, and we never seen them again. Some ran in the trees. Some try to revamp their career. Some just fell off the planet Earth, and boxing-wise. And so my plan is April 28th, because I understand what I'm facing, and I understand what I'm up against. And when you understand that for years and years and years of my career, I don't think as far as y'all do. I know where to think, and I know where to cut it off. And I know what a win would do, and what a win won't do for me. Only me. This is only Bernard Hopkins' rule they got for me. This ain't nobody else's rule in boxing. Not Floyd Mayweather, not Pacquiao, not Amir Khan, not any other fighter in the last 15 to 20 years. It's the Bernard Hopkins rules that they made up. So winning is not always a good thing in the politics of Bernard Hopkins. Trust me. Look at the track record. When you see come the 28th of April, and you see me react what I did in October of 2008, even better performance, then I think about what I'm going to do, not what they want to do with me. That's the difference.
Thank you, Bernard. I'm looking forward to a great fight, and good luck.
Okay.
All right, our next question is going to come from Dan Raphael from ESPN.
Hello, Bernard.
Hey, how you doing?
Bernard, I think those might look at this matchup and see, okay, you're the underdog, as you've been other times, and it's almost like it's where you want to be. Underdog against Tarver, underdog against Trinidad, underdog against Pavlik. Pulled the rabbit out of the hat, beat all three of those guys, didn't just beat them decisively. Are you basically in a spot where you want to be, where you thrive the best when there are not a lot of people that give you the real legitimate chance to actually win the fight against a guy that's, so much younger than you are, almost 20 years younger than you?
Well, that's being kind of mild. I was born in 1965 in a great year for segregation. I was the underdog based on being black. So being underdog in boxing, and being underdog when others have their opinion, I mean, this is kids play. I mean, you taking a little bit too deep in what it is. To be underdog, obviously blessed not to have a suntan like me. But trust me, people like me, and I say people like me understand underdog, whether it's sport, whether it's sport, whether it's play, whether it's corporate America, whether just being the situation you are. So am I comfortable being in a situation? Maybe. Maybe I got immune to it. Maybe it grew on me over the years. But whatever it is, it doesn't take away the talent of Bernard Hopkins in the last 20-plus years. It doesn't take away what I do in the ring and what I've done out of the ring. At the end of the day, whether it's underdog because they say I should be the underdog, I can flat out fight and I prove that. And I'm going to continue to show that you might have an opinion, whoever, but that don't mean that you have to be right. And that's my job to prove it come April 28th. I'm not, you know, I know when I start getting kind of like, they say old in boxing, because to be honest with you, I don't really have too much to say anymore in the last 2 or 3 years, even though I try to push myself to give people something because it's part of the game in boxing. You do a lot of talking, then you do a lot of backing it up, and some do, some don't. But I think I am getting kind of old in my age where right now I get agitated even during these interviews because it seems to be the same questions and nobody else got any different thing to ask me. It's not that people are wrong for asking me. It's that I've been around so long, 24 years if my math is right, 1988. If you take half of those 24 years, what else can you ask Bernard Hopkins? The news ain't when I win. The news is if I lose. That becomes news to y'all. And I understand that because I built a track record. And I've been right more than I've been wrong. Y'all been wrong more than y'all been right. It's nothing personal. I just want to lay the platform out there for everybody that's on the ear or listening that I understand that you got to dig in the bag of tricks or grab it out of a hat, as Dan said. Because it's what else you want to ask me. Are you in shape, Bernard? You can't ask me that. Are you mentally ready, Bernard? You damn sure ain't going to ask me that. So you got to find these things to create what? A conversation. I'd rather talk about something else, but this is part of the protocol game, so let's play the game. April 28th is the only thing I want to say, only thing I want to show, and you're going to see them want to come up and shake my hand and tell me how great I am. And that's what I'm going to say, thank you, and go home and sleep in my bed that I haven't been in 9 weeks.
Bernard, with this fight, you know, you've made a big deal about your age for a long time. 47 years old now, going into this fight, and do you think about it that, you know, win, lose, draw, whatever the case may be? Do you see yourself with a future in boxing beyond this fight?
I just repeated something that happened in October of 2008. Now I repeat it again. The rules are different for Bernard Hopkins. The rules should be different for Bernard Hopkins because I made him that way in the ring and out of the ring. See, winning doesn't mean that you might see me fight HBO or Showtime again. You know why? Because if you remember, as Richard eloquently remind y'all, that after the public fight, which any other fighter would have became an instant, if he wasn't a star, he'd have been a triple star. Instead, I went fishing for 16 months. You think that was an accident?
But I was asking.
But what I'm saying is this. When you ask me questions like that, if I was any other fighter, from top to bottom, it will be already self-explanatory, really self-explanatory. It will be already there so you know the next move. The next move would be he just got it. It'd have been not even a question where that person would go, where that fighter would go. But see, I didn't already establish a lot of things that you can't really say things will be great and dandy after this fight because they'll find an excuse to say what Chad Dawson wasn't. They'll find a loophole, like in court, to say what Chad Dawson didn't have all of a sudden. But they're going to reserve that just in case they're right about what they predicted. So I know the forces. I know what I'm dealing with here, and they know I know what I'm dealing with, and they know me. So let's play the game, and let's see who can play it the best. There's one thing everybody on this line can understand and know. I've been right more than I've been wrong. How many reporters consider they've been more right about their predictions than more wrong? How many are honest to say it was more right than wrong? But when it comes to me, against the great predictors, they know what my track record is. They know what my track record is, so I don't have to repeat that. I don't have to repeat that. I'll just say we're on a countdown right now. And any other questions or scenario or what's going to happen, this better be shown April 28th. Because at the end of the day, that's all really matters, Dan. You know you want to get a sound bite from him, you want to get a sound bite from me. But at the end of the day, what you care about is when you sit down there in the audience, is Bernard going to do what you said earlier, pull a rabbit out of a hat? I don't say a rabbit out of a hat. I say I just continue to kick the naysayer's ass in and out of the ring because that's the task that I've always been up against. And I don't mind that. It's not anger. It's a challenge. Y'all been my biggest motivator. Y'all been without that, it wouldn't be me the way I've been.
Bernard, I would say I would ask any 47-year-old if they had plans for the future, but I would just wish you good luck in the fight. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, and our next question is going to come from Dave Weinberg from the West Atlantic City.
Hi, Bernard. How are you?
All right.
You fought here about, I guess, like 16 or 17 times now. Is there a comfort level that comes with fighting in Atlantic City, being that it's been, especially lately, it's been home to some of your biggest wins? I mean, is there like a hometown advantage, do you think, almost for you?
No, there's no hometown advantage for me or my opponent. He's from Connecticut, which is around the corner. I'm from Philadelphia, which is next door. There's no hometown advantage. The hometown advantage is when you got the judges, the referee, and the politics on your side. That's hometown advantage. That's home court. Trust me. When you're a basketball player and you got your cousin as a referee, he blow the whistle every time. He blow the whistle every time you don't even have the ball. He blow the whistle. That's a hometown. That's a hometown. That's a hometown comfortability. But with me, you got to remember, you're dealing with Bernard Hopkins. You're dealing with Bernard Hopkins. There's no home court advantage with Bernard Hopkins. The rules are different from me, man. The rules are different. Just like the rules is done. I ain't complaining. I'm just letting y'all be aware in case somebody forgot that the rules are different for certain athletes that come amongst us. The rules are different with Jim Brown. He made a way. The rules are different with Satchel Paige. He made a way. The rules are different with Muhammad Ali. He made a way. The rules are different with Bill Russell. He made a way. The rules are different from anybody that stood up for what they believed in, whether it cost them their career, their lives, or their job. The rules are different for certain unique people that do these things. So it's never a home court advantage. They would never rock me to sleep. Matter of fact, as far as I'm concerned, I'm fighting in his backyard. As far as I'm concerned, I'm fighting on enemy territory because you won't rock me to sleep, and you can't rock me to sleep to think that anybody's going to do Bernard Hopkins a damn favor.
Okay. I just thought the fact that you fought there 17 times, he never has fought there, that you might have some sort of, comfort level maybe.
No, that's because 17 times I was right more than I was wrong.
I got you.
It just happened to be that way. It just happened to be that way. I mean, you can look at when I fought in L.A. the last fight. Golden Boy is based out of L.A. Oscar is from L.A. You see what they did to me? They tried to do to me there if I didn't stand up with my lawyers and my promotional team, made a cry for justice. Are you kidding me?
I got you.
This was in Los Angeles, California. Where Oscar is famous like a Magic Johnson who played for the Lakers. Are you kidding me? This way you fight even harder.
I got you.
Where it should be a little different because you are home and, you know, everybody's catering to you. No. No, I'm too much of a veteran to go for that okey doke. That's one of those moves when you're a rookie. You think that you're home and everything is good, and most fighters lose at home because they're so comfortable and they're so relaxed and they so everything is going to be catered to them. And then the worst day of your life, the worst night of your life.
Gotcha. Well, I was just curious why you call it one of the greatest places you've ever fought on the map earlier today.
Because I'm biased, because I live right up the road. I'm supposed to say that. I'm in Philadelphia.
I gotcha. Playing the game, I got you. All right.
Listen, I like to see this. This is all a game. It's all a game. It's a game of chess, not checkers. It's a game in the ring. It's a game out of the ring. I hear the whispers. It's all a game. And you know what? Right now, I'm winning the game.
Okay.
I'm winning the game, and April 28th, that's a physical part of the game. But the other game is vicious because you don't see the punches coming.
Gotcha. Thanks, Bernard. I appreciate it. Good luck.
All right.
All right, and our next question is from Chris Murray from the Philadelphia Tribune.
Bernard, I want to ask the same question that I asked you in front of the Army meeting last summer. How is it that a lot of these younger fighters, strong, fast, and all this other stuff, why do they have problems against you? Is it more a mental thing? Is it a physical thing? Is it a combination of both?
Well, I'm not young, so you can't ask me that question. Okay? I mean, you got to ask them. I don't know what's in their head. And we all call ourselves fighters. We all call ourselves athletes. They got great trainers, or you could say good trainers, or potential great trainers. Some had, some don't. But I think it's a lame excuse to downplay who I am. Because when you take away the person's ability to make a person do what you want them to do, and you say because it's mental, like there's something undermined it or underhand or on the table, like it's against the rules, to just flat out beat a guy because maybe I'm just better. Did anybody ever thought or think that maybe I'm just better than a generation that's here in the last 5 or 10 years? Maybe I'm just better. Has anybody ever thought maybe it ain't the mind games? It ain't that Bernard Hopkins got that look that he can bully somebody before the punch is thrown? I disagree. But most people think that what I do is about a head game. Why do you think I've been quiet? Because to be quiet until this media phone conference, because if I don't say nothing and I don't do nothing, then they can't accuse me and charge me. Well, you know, Bernard witness here. So I'm trying to eliminate. I might as well let the cat out the bag since we kind of close. I was trying to eliminate the excuse for my performance. And the excuse for my eye-opener, since they don't want to give me the money I deserve, and they don't want to give me the prestige that I deserve, as Richard said, and they don't want to give me the credit for what I deserve, then maybe, just maybe,
You do one more thing, I'm going to kick your ass.
in this generation. It's not a crime. It's very unique, I would say. It's very strange in a good way. If strange can be mentioned in a good thing. So they rely on other excuses to downplay Bernard Hopkins' uniqueness in the world of all these fighters that fighting today past 30 years old or younger. They just don't want to give me the credit, but they don't have to, because I already won. I won 10 years ago. I could have stopped and been in the Hall of Fame. I already won. But I'm on something else right now. And that something else is even greater for what I've done in the last 10, 15 years, believe it or not. And I've done a lot of great things.
I'm going to fuck you up.
Rewrite the book. I'm going to rewrite the book.
And we'll go ahead and go with Lem Satterfield from thering.com.
Hey, Bernard, how you doing?
All right.
Hey, Bernard, one of the fights that comes to mind where this very similar situation developed, and the guy was a southpaw, was the first fight with Robert Allen. And I remember even Bobby Ches, the commentator, was questioning you, as is Chad Dawson and his promoter, whether or not you were really hurt. You know what the result of that second fight was? A second-round knockout, seventh-round knockout. In any way, is that fight, am I right about the similarities between that fight and this one? You getting pushed out of the ring and then questioning whether or not you were hurt, and then the way you came back in that fight, and Robert questioning you as well?
Carbon copy. It's like looking in the mirror. Fortunately, unfortunately, in my career, I've been in two situations, maybe three. I remember Antoine Nichols, if you remember that, he picked me up at the Venetian. They were frustrated. I was dancing circles around his head. He picked me up and slammed me down, and I had a dislocated right shoulder. If you remember that fight on HBO.
But if you won that fight that night, this one...
Yeah, I understand. I won that fight because I chose to get up and I chose to do what I got to do, and I won it by a knockout on 11th. But to answer the question about the Robert Allen second fight, it is a similarity. So
don't you guys say a word.
It's very profound that I'm under the same situation, and it's going to be even strange when the same result happens. Because at the end of the day, I'm always at my best when my dignity, my pride, and my name is the only thing that I have when I leave this earth. And even though I can't stop everybody and anybody from saying what they think about me, but I'm on something else. I'm fighting for something else more than just the tricklets in this game that some of us will fall in love with. So, as I sit here and do this interview and I'm looking at the gym right now, I know what I have to do. Whatever he said he's going to do, I believe he's going to try. And that's when everybody's going to enjoy Bernard Hopkins and to see the talent that I've always showed. But they just wasn't paying attention. They wasn't paying attention. They seriously wasn't paying attention. I believe I'm the most underrated fighter that ever walked on the planet Earth that reached this level when it comes to speed, when it comes to talent, when it comes to hit, not get hit without running, when it comes to the basic fundamental of boxing. I believe that I'm the most underrated fighter that ever laced a pair of gloves on to reach the level that I reached in like 24 years. And that's a motivation for me to keep pushing, to prove what I've been and who I am.
Are you, Bernard, are you also at, you talked about being at your best when your dignity and pride is at stake. Are you also at your best in terms of the fight itself when a guy feels brave enough to challenge you and feel like you're not what he thought you were? I mean, did it play into your hands similarly?
I don't know. Well, it wasn't nothing that played in my hand because it's nothing I set up. It's nothing I used as a strategy. It's nothing I used as a head game, some would say, when they want to make an excuse for their wrong and my right. I believe that the older guys that happen to be around, very few, has enough sense and have enough experience to know that they have to be a little careful in certain spots. That's that veteran in some of the fighters that may be still around. But any entity or any person that's young, They haven't reached that level of patience and experience. So it's nothing that they've done wrong. It's just something they got to live through. Some will live through it and realize it later, and some won't. Some will fall victim to what you just mentioned, that they will play into a hand that really wasn't laid out for them to play into. But because of their thinking, because of what they feel, it could be dislike, it could be I'm better, it could be I'm jealous, it could be I'm envy, it could be I want his status, I want his life, I want his record, I want to be this, I want to be that. But a lot of us want to be a lot of things that we can't be yet or never. That's the game changer. And it's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or even up to 8, 9, 10, and 11. That's the game changer sometime in the fight where you had to man up and nothing else matter. Nothing else matter.
So you want him to come to you and try to take your head off is basically what you're saying.
I want him to come to me and stick his chin out.
Okay.
And let me hit it.
As long as he doesn't lift your legs up.
Exactly. I mean, he can come the way he want to come, but I don't think a 29-year-old or a 30-year-old right now is going to dance away from a 47-year-old. Y'all would embarrass him. Y'all would kill him in your papers. So any 27-year-old is told, already know the strategy. With an old guy or older guy, what do? You make him fight harder than he wants to fight. Well, that's one way if you're dealing with an average 47-year-old. But what happens where he matches the same energy, he matches the same speed, and he ain't breathing? Are he going to use the excuse that Pascal used to say I was on some kind of steroids? Is he going to use the excuse that I'm drinking some kind of jungle juice? Is he an excuse that maybe sometime I might have seen some witch doctor? See, when they got a plan because they train and the people tell them this, they tell them that, and it doesn't work, that's the fight. That's when you sit back and say, man, we got to write another. Y'all gonna call an upset. And you know what? You should. Because I'm 47, right? So look for an excuse when it's all said and done. You're going to hear so much crazy stuff that's going to probably be for the... And it's going to be laughable to some media people because they went out gun-ho and they want to be right just like I want to be right. So a lot of them ain't going to be able to hide. But just understand, come April 28th, just watch, tell your granddaughter, your grandson, your kids for older guys, that you're watching a person in this era, like when Ray Robinson was in his, Ali was in his, Hagler was in his, Ray Leonard was in his, because you're missing when I leave. I'm telling you. You miss, not me, personality, because I don't really care, but you miss what you took for granted when time goes on.
Thanks, Bernard. Appreciate it.
All right, and our last question is going to come from Brian Graham from Sports Illustrated.
Hey, Bernard, thanks for your time today.
Okay.
I want to take you back 24 years, also in Atlantic City, 23-year-old named Bernard Hopkins making his pro debut against a guy named Clinton Mitchell. Can you tell me what you remember about that fight? I think it was before Bowie Fischer. I think it was at light heavyweight. Whatever details you can remember, what you learned from that night, because obviously we all know what happened afterwards as far as your career.
I know clearly, like it was yesterday, what happened. What happened that night was I had to tell myself whether I want to do this back in the streets of Philadelphia. And if you look at my record, from 1988 to 89 to half of 90, 88 to 89 and a half of 90, I was inactive if you look at my record.
Mm-hmm.
I had to come to grips with whether I was going to live, think, eat, and dedicate myself to boxing. And I made that choice. I wasn't a guy that was doing drugs or smoking or drinking, but my lifestyle of eating and being ignorant to the game, because I just come home not so long ago from the prison of Greater Fort State Penitentiary, and I didn't have all the knowledge that I have now. So the discipline wasn't as blown as it is and has been for 2 decades. So when I made that decision, and it takes a strong mind and a strong discipline and a strong character to, even in good times, not to fall off the wagon. You can ask a lot of people in rehab. You can ask a lot of people that try to kick a habit that they can't kick, whatever it is. And I told myself, this is what I want to do. Don't want to be in prison and don't want to visit the graveyard. Well, you can't visit, don't want to be permanent in the graveyard if you're dead. And I made that choice. So I remember that real clear, because if you look at, and you already know what happened after that, I came back with a terror. I came back running off 20 straight wins, 17, maybe 18 by knockout, and became #1 in the IBF. Fort Roy Jones Jr. in 1993 as a #1 contender in the IBF. He was #2. Lost that fight by decision, which was a learning step for me. And from RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C. in 1993 on HBO, I went on to run off 10-plus years as the undefeated, undisputed middleweight champion of the world, setting a record that not only broke Carlosman's own, but also the great, marvelous Marvin Hagler. And then from there, I wasn't done. From there, I went up 2 weight classes after the heist of the Jermaine Teller 2 fights. I went up, and the naysayer said, I'm going up to get a payday. I don't sell my name, my soul, or my pride for $1. And I went up and did what Ray Robinson himself 1 round from doing in Yankee Stadium. That was answering the 15th round because of the heat exhaustion at 125-degree weather in Yankee Stadium. So I made history that no one else ever done, not even the great. So I remember that clear, and I understand what came off of that, what rebounded off that. The legacy began when I made that choice between whether I'm going to dedicate my life and dedicate my lifestyle that haven't changed, got better. From 1988 until 2012, how many people in the world, how many people that successful can say they did it their way?
Not many. I guess the one question I had is, was it a matter of you sort of underestimating what it required to be a prize fighter? Because obviously you look at the names of the few people that have beat you, and obviously, this guy, doesn't really, fall in their class.
No, it's based on ignorance. When you don't know, you don't know. See, I don't charge the guy for being ignorant, and somehow he paid a price for being ignorant because he really didn't know. But once you pay that price and you physically survive that, it doesn't kill you. It doesn't wipe you out. Then you are charged, if you do it again, far as I'm concerned. I'm talking about life. I'm not talking about a criminal act. When you know that you have to go ahead and prepare yourself because you know that you ate candy, you did this, you didn't train, you didn't run, you didn't sacrifice, you didn't put the time in. That's why I'm so obsessed with staying in shape. Whether I'm fighting or whether I'm not fighting, I put this in as a life. This is a lifestyle for me. Some people got to detox. They got to stop drinking. They got to stop doing whatever they're doing. And then they got to go to camp. And I'm not saying I'm better. I let people say better. I say different. And different in a lot of ways. I'm not a fool to think that I'm here because I'm just that good. I think there's a lot of fighters out there that's talented than me, that might be overly talented than me, but there's one thing that I've had and that I got and that I will never lose, even in my personal life, is the discipline to stay the course. And that is the biggest challenge that any human being that breathes the life of air that we breathe is the discipline to stay the course, because good can make you comfortable. Achieving can make you soft. How do you keep that intensity and still reap the benefits of your labor? That's a very hard challenge. It's not easy, but that's a very hard challenge. And some people will succeed, and some people will not. Doesn't make them bad, doesn't make them good. It's just the way it is. I understand that, and that gives me the upper hand to understand the course. And that's the course. Through good, through bad, through in between, stay the course, and willing to roll with the punches, whether you here that day or go on the next. It is what it is.
All right, Bernard, thanks a lot for your time. Good luck on the 28th.
Thank you.
That was the last question. Thank you so much, Bernard, to take this time out of your very busy schedule there at the gym. I look forward to seeing you in a week and a half, and I really only have 3 words left to all of you. Don't miss it. Thank you very much.